Hello there. Today I'm talking about things that people say that confuse my autistic brain. And the first is, oh, don't cry. And gosh, this irritates me so much because people will say, don't cry when somebody is crying. And it tends to be an automatic emotional response to something. It's something I find impossible just to switch off, particularly when you're in the midst of something really stressful, and crying is the response that your body has decided to do. For me, it's like telling somebody, don't breathe. It's an utterly absurd thing to say. It's a sign of a person feeling deeply uncomfortable that somebody else is crying, and it's almost saying to them, this is making me feel really uncomfortable, so could you just stop now? For me, they should be saying, have a cry, let it all out. Let all your emotions come to the surface. It's obviously what you need to do in this moment. And also, as an autistic person who struggles with alexithymia, so that's difficulties with feeling or identifying emotions, it was an absolute blessing, certainly in my younger years, when I was able to cry, because it didn't happen very often. So people should be encouraged to cry and feel their emotions in the moment, because it is just so important. Cheer up. And I absolutely hate this with a passion. And I don't know about you, but I've been told to cheer up a hell of a lot in my life. And it's not my fault. I'm autistic with a flat affect, or certainly I used to have more of a flat affect when I was younger, before I learned how to move my face essentially through masking. Just stop telling people what to do. And I have to say, the main culprits of cheer up have been men in my life, certainly. And I think even worse than cheer up is smile. Honestly, I can't tell you the amount of times, certainly in my younger years, I was told to smile by men I didn't know on the street, and it would fill me with absolute rage. Imagine having the absolute audacity to tell a stranger on the street to smile. It's just utterly ridiculous, and it is so misogynistic. And when you consider don't cry, smile, and cheer up all together, it's like they want us all to be in a constant state of happiness, to be walking around the world with a Richter's grin on our face at all times. And they say autistic people are the rigid thinkers. I just couldn't ever imagine saying these things to other people. They just seem so demanding, and I don't understand why people say them. Don't worry. And I don't know about you, but as an autistic person who is basically worried about something during the entire course of their life, to tell somebody not to worry is so dismissive. I can't stand it. Again, it's like telling somebody not to breathe, because it's not something you can turn off within your brain. If you are somebody who ruminates and worries about something, it's not as easy as just telling yourself not to worry. It just seems utterly absurd to me. If you are struggling with something and somebody's response is to say, oh, don't worry, it really is like a conversation ender. It's like they don't want to discuss whatever the issue is in any kind of detail. For me, anyway, it's almost like them saying, I really don't want to get into this right now, so don't worry about it, it'll all be fine. It just really, really bothers me. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. What does this mean? Why can't we just acknowledge that some things in life will just make us feel horrible? For instance, I don't know, grief, or losing your job and the uncertainty that follows. Why do we have to follow this up with, this will make you stronger in the long term? Because will it? Will it really? I don't know about you, but I've had certainly some episodes of depression in my life, and I don't know, I didn't feel kind of stronger as a result of it. And we don't need these platitudes. What we need is deep and meaningful conversation a lot of the time in order for us to understand and digest whatever it is that we're going through. Money can't buy happiness. And gosh, living under capitalism is it's really difficult to be happy when you're skint. And I certainly know all about this, you know, as somebody who really struggled to make ends meet at many times during my life. This is just utterly, utterly offensive nonsense. If you're struggling to pay the rent, or if you're struggling to buy food, you know, I think money certainly does help in terms of happiness, certainly at some level. And if you're struggling even to, you know, have the basics in life, it's yeah, it's something that you don't really want to hear. And of course, there is a distinction. You know, money itself can't buy happiness, but it can buy you things that make you happy, or at least content in life. You know, many autistic people can't afford therapy, for one, and many autistic people are living in situations where they're just not being fully accommodated. You know, they're perhaps living with other people, and I know for me, I lived in bedsits and house shares for a lot of my life, which was really inappropriate for a young autistic person, because I wasn't able ever to find peace, really. But had I had money, or more money at that time, to be able to afford a place that felt safer and quieter, I know I'd have been a lot more happy. It's not rocket science. Ugh. I hate this one so much. Imagine having a question about something that you're really not sure of, and it may seem really obvious to other people, but imagine having this as a response. It's not rocket science. Of course, it's not rocket science. The only thing that's rocket science is rocket science. I think it's aimed at just making people feel really bad that they've asked perhaps a silly question, or, you know, something that they should know, or, you know, that it's implying that they're stupid. I hate it so much. I just wish the neurotypicals would stop using this, because it is so dismissive. Not everybody can know all the things, and we can only learn if we ask questions. Why are you single? Now then, I'm not single these days, but I spent a lot of my adult years single, and I would often be asked this question, and I absolutely hated it, because how the hell are you supposed to answer this? And I was asked this question a few times in my life, and I could never come up with an answer, because I just didn't know, other than it's none of your business. How are you supposed to answer this question? It is so nosy and it's so inappropriate. I would never dream of asking anybody anything about their personal life in this way, because it's personal. It's so infuriating, and yeah, just hate it. Neurotypicals, stop it. Another saying that has really annoyed me for my entire life is cheap at half the price. Now, people tend to say this when they're buying something that's already cheap. It makes 0 sense, and still I hear people saying this, and I don't know why people don't really think about what they're saying sometimes. And, you know, I'm guilty of saying silly idioms and platitudes here and there, but I do really try and think about what it is that I'm saying and whether it's got a clear meaning. But certainly this one hasn't, and I've always been utterly confused about it. I turned around and said, now then, I might be on my own with this one, but it has always bugged me. People tend to say, I turned around and said, whenever they're recounting a story or an anecdote, you know, something that's happened to them. So they'll say, I turned around to such and said. But my rigid thinking brain has always thought, whenever anybody has said this to me, did you though? Did you physically turn around as you said this to whomever? Because it just really, really bugs me. And I'm sure there are instances where people have physically turned around and said, but I would imagine in most cases they haven't. They've merely said something to somebody. And I know I sound super pedantic here, but it has always, always bothered my autistic brain. And so the last one for today is, how do you do? 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 It just makes no sense. And I appreciate it's just a formality and it's what people do generally in interviews, but I just don't get it. You know, if it doesn't make sense, can we just not phase this out? I just don't understand why tradition matters so much when it comes to examples of language like this, because it doesn't make any sense. Can we not just say a simple hello and follow up with something a bit more meaningful? I don't know, maybe it's just me. So these are just a few examples of things that people say that really confuse my autistic brain, but I'd love to hear yours too, so please leave those in comments down below. And also, as I mentioned in last week's video, if you're a neurodivergent person who thinks, I would love to leave a comment, but I just don't know what to say, I would really appreciate it if you drop an orange heart down in comments, because for me they represent friendship and solidarity. So yep, leave your orange hearts down below. So I think that's going to be it for today. So thank you ever so much for watching. Give it a like if you got this far, and I'll see you again soon.